As the heavy Allied bombers took to the skies in World War II, the stories of their sacrifices have been told time and time again. It was a dangerous job with everything on the line as they fought off German fighters and heavy flak from the ground. But in this video, using the actual historical photos from the incident, we will highlight a tragic story from one of these bomber missions that shows a forgotten hazard of this role, not from the enemy, but from your own friendly bombers. At the time of this story in 1944, the Allied forces were devoting a great deal of time into deceiving their enemies on where the great invasion would soon take place. Essentially, if their attack location was hidden and secretive, they had a much higher chance of safety and success. We can use this same strategy today, not with military force, but with the sponsor of this video, Surfshark VPN. In case you don't know, a VPN is a safe and secure way to protect your sensitive information on the internet. Using Surfshark, you can stay safe on public Wi-Fi, send or receive files securely, and get the best deals on shopping online by browsing from a different location. Surfshark was recently a big help to me when I needed to access some foreign history archives for a video, but was having trouble because of my location. Thanks to Surfshark though, I had no problem doing the research I needed. So if you are browsing right now, exposed and unprotected, don't wait. Surfshark is a must-have for internet security and is a steal at just $2.49 a month. Use the link in the description below and sign up today. Thanks again to Surfshark, and without further ado, enjoy. As the Allies prepared for the most ambitious and large-scale amphibious invasion in the history of warfare, there was a key aspect to the plan that often gets overlooked among the heroism of the beaches. This was the massive air bombardment that took place in the weeks and months prior to D-Day in order to pave the way for the soldiers on the ground. In fact, this was such a high priority for the Allied commanders that the original date that was planned for the invasion was May 18th of 1944. But it was redesignated to the first week of June in order to allow the Army Air Corps to establish more air supremacy through bombings and fighter sweeps. One of the first missions that took place after this redesignation was on the 19th of May of 1944. This would be a raid that would hit Berlin itself with bombers from the 94th Bomb Group, which was made up primarily of B-17s. This was the primary American bomber during this time and was commonly known for being rugged and loved by its airmen. It was the perfect choice for the job. One of these flying fortresses that would take part in this raid was B-17 serial number 42-31540, more commonly known by her lovely nickname, Miss Donna Mae. This bomber was delivered to England in late 1943 and was just in time to participate in the massive effort to cripple German air power. She would take part in multiple missions in the early months of 1944, taking care of her crew well. But unfortunately, tragedy would strike her on this famous mission to Berlin. As morning broke on May 19th, Miss Donna Mae and the rest of the B-17s took off from their airfield in England. After all of the bombers had gotten into the air, they grouped together and began to fly in formation to their intended target. Now, in order to understand the events that took place next, we need to understand how bombers at this time were assigned to fly when taking part in a mission. Obviously, there had to be specific instructions for the bomber crews, or things would easily get complicated and confusing in the air. And I know you might be thinking, but how does this relate to a B-17 destroying another B-17? But just be patient, because this part is going to be very important later. So, when formation flying, the United States Army Air Corps had to create a system that achieved a few key goals. First, they wanted to make themselves difficult targets for the Luftwaffe fighters. This would be achieved by grouping together, allowing all of the formation's gunners to concentrate on attacking the bandits. But when grouping the aircraft together, it was not a wise strategic decision to place them all at the exact same height, because that would make them easier targets for anti-aircraft gunners on the ground. Next, they had to make sure it was very well organized so that each aircraft knew their assigned spot in relation to the other aircraft in the group. So essentially, it was a fairly complex strategic task. When I originally started the research for this video, I expected to be able to quickly explain the way these bomber formations flew, but I could not have been more mistaken.
This is how the group looks from above. The lead plane of the high squadron flies even with the lead plane, second element, lead squadron. Here is the group as an enemy fighter pilot sees it, from head on. The first element of the lead squadron is stacked high left and low right. The first element of the low squadron is stacked high right and low left.
It was truly a very complex system that divided bombers into groups of 3, and each were flying at different altitudes. Then those groups would join other groups of 3 who were yet again at different altitudes and patterns. This would happen until the entire formation was together, and essentially the idea was that no bombers were ever at the same height or flight path. It was a very specific methodology for formation flying, and for good reason, as we are about to see that if these methods were not strictly followed, the results could be fatal. As the mission on May 19th progressed, the flight of B-17s crossed the channel and reached cruising altitude after a few hours, and so they were quickly approaching Berlin. Fighter resistance was present at multiple points, and flak had landed a few hits on the bombers of the 94th, but overall things were going well. But this would change in a few moments. As the bombardiers peered through their Norden bomb sights, they looked down at the German city and opened bomb bay doors. Just like they had done many times before, they prepared to release their payloads, but this time something would go wrong. Miss Donna Mae and her crew were about to drop their bombs like all of the other aircraft, but then one of the B-17s in the formation slowly began to drift out of formation. Nonetheless, the bombs away call went out over the radio, and Miss Donna Mae and all of the other fortresses let their payloads free, plummeting downwards towards Berlin. The B-17 that was above Miss Donna Mae at this moment was an aircraft by the name of Trudy, another member of the 94th Bomb Group. As she dropped her ordnance in this mission, however, her bombardier saw something tragic unfold. Miss Donna Mae began to slowly appear in the center of his bomb sight. He watched bomb after bomb fall downwards until one of them struck the friendly B-17 in the left horizontal stabilizer. Here you can see the actual incredible images taken from B-17 Trudy that captured this moment right as the bomb struck Miss Donna Mae. It immediately ripped a portion of the tail section of the aircraft off, and it instantly went into a dive. In seconds, Donna Mae was in an uncontrolled death spiral. The bomb did not explode, but it did damage a key part of the tail section that made the aircraft uncontrollable. After being hit for thousands of feet, the bomber plummeted towards the ground as the bombardier of Trudy and the other airmen in the flight watched in agony, praying for parachutes. Tragically, there would be none. Because the strike had happened so quickly and the aircraft went into a high G spin within seconds, it would have been very difficult for any of the crew of Miss Donna Mae to get out. From inside their bomber, 1 second they were releasing their bombs with no enemy fighters or flak on them at that moment, and then the next they are in a violent spin downwards towards the earth. It is easy to see how they would have not been prepared for this disaster and unable to reach their exits. And thus, a short time after being hit by the friendly bomb from B-17 Trudy, Miss Donna Mae would crash into the ground near Berlin, Germany. All 11 of her crew members would be killed in action. There is no historical information as to which bomber drifted out of formation and caused this incident, but the tragic tale serves as a stern reminder of just how dangerous and high stakes these missions truly were, even when the enemy was not present. Thanks for watching, please click subscribe, and I'll see you next time.